أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وإنا لجاعلون ما عليها صعيدا جرزا أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا فضربنا على آذانهم في الكهف سنين عددا ثم بعثناهم لنعلم أي الحزبين أحصى لما لبثوا أمدا نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم
problem. So we're going to go over those ayahs. And when somebody tells you to change, do you behave like a believer in the Imam when he tells you? Or do you behave like the Jews of the Ummah? Just the simple answer would be, how do you behave to your mom when she tells you to do something, or your spouse, and so on. So these are some of the ayahs we'll be going. Let's welcome Brother Charara with a large salawat.
أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولئن آتيت الذين أوتوا الكتاب بكل آية ما تبعوا قبلتك وما أنت بتابع قبلتهم وما بعضهم بتابع قبلتهم ولئن اتبعت أهواءهم من بعد ما جاءك من العلم من بعد ما جاءك من العلم إنك إذا لمن الظالمين الذين آتيناهم الكتاب يعرفونه كما يعرفون أبناءهم وإن فريقا منهم ليكتمون الحق وهم يعلمون الحق من ربك فلا تكونن من الممترين ولكل وجهة هو موليها فاستبقوا الخيرات أينما تكونوا يأتي بكم الله جميعا إن الله على كل شيء قدير ومن حيث خرجت ول وجهك شطر المسجد الحرام وإنه للحق من ربك وما الله بغافل عما تعملون ومن حيث خرجت فول وجهك شطر المسجد الحرام وحيث ما كنتم فولوا وجوهكم شطرة لئلا يكون للناس عليكم حجة إلا الذين ظلموا منهم فلا تخشوهم واخشوني ولأتم نعمتي عليكم ولعلكم تهتدون كما أرسلنا فيكم رسولا منكم يتلو عليكم آياتنا ويزكيكم ويعلمكم الكتاب والحكمة ويعلمكم ما لم تكونوا تعلمون فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون صدق الله العلي العظيم الفاتحة تسبقها الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
Let's thank him with a large salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. May His peace and blessings be on our beloved Prophet and His immaculate Ahl Bayt. Salawat. Promise you, if you listen to music and you replace your music with that, just do that for 40 days. Because one of the things that music does when you listen to a lot of it is it kills your drive. Because music in most senses is negative. And we've done it here, where a couple years ago, I just did random top 10 songs of, I think it was 2022 or 21. I'm Bad at Love. Break up with your boyfriend because I'm bored. Be Crazy. Every song of the top 10 was negative. I think if you listen to this, imagine you listening to this every day, or every day somebody telling you, you're stupid. Let's get stupid. Let's act crazy. Is that going to have an impact on you? And it's purposely done, right? The whole music industry. So be careful. Replace that with that. Look how beautiful that is. right? That's why Allah says this Quran that we give to you, it's a healer. It heals you. Not only actualize it, just by even listening to it as a minimum. So again, let's thank Brother Charara with the largest of salawats. So we have a lot to do today. We're going to go over those ayahs, and we're going to do a short meditation at the end. And just for you to realize when you just focus on one of names of Allah, and when you do that, what happens to you. Today was a rough day, to be honest. I did a couple of counseling sessions, and where wives or other people would bring people for me to speak to them, and they don't want to change. And I'm thinking, I'm not really here for you. I'm here for your wife to probably give her advice. And why is it that they don't want to change? Because something bad happened to them. And when they live that way, they're really good at being a victim. My car, I got into 3 accidents. I had this happen to me. I had this happen. If you're noticing you're that type of person where you always feel like there's a black cloud around you, I promise you, it's not the things around you. It's you. And as soon as you realize who that you is, your life changes. That's what it's about today. What's one thing that's essential to success? I just want to lay a small foundation before we go over the ayahs. What's essential to success? I'm sorry? Consistency. Right? If you're religious, if you're consistent, right? If I religiously eat donuts, what can you replace with the word religious? Consistent. How do you know if you're religious? Not if you've gone to Hajj, not if you go to the mosque. If you're consistent when you leave that prayer rug, do you promote good and forbid evil? Do your kids look forward to seeing you? Do your parents look forward to seeing you? Does your wife look forward to seeing you? If you don't, if they're not, then you're not considered religious, even though you may wear hijab or pray. It means nothing to Allah if you don't have the component of goodness, right? Because that's what the Jews of Medina did. They said, oh, we're the religious ones, we're good. They cherry-picked what they wanted to follow, and it was Prophet Ibrahim's prayer that came. So one of the things is willpower. So quickly, people went into Vietnam, they did heroin. A lot of them, because we've done even healings when we recite du'as. There was Sister May who invited a Vietnam vet. She calls him up, she goes, I know you have cancer, let us do an Islamic prayer for you. So he was there. He was actually sitting here. We're all around him doing a prayer for him. We're reciting Dua Mashlud for him. And as we were reciting, the meditation is over. We were reciting the names of Allah. And he was talking about how amazing he felt. And I was like, can you tell me your story? He says, want me to be honest? Earlier today, I was going to commit suicide. I'm a pilot. I was a pilot in Vietnam. And everybody thinks I'm a nice guy, and I'm not. So why do you think that way? He said, because I went and I killed an innocent person in Vietnam, and then I took his wallet and I saw a picture of him, his wife, and his kids. And ever since then, I've been having nightmares. And that's why I have this cancer riddled in my body. We, a lot of times, cause our own illness. We're going to talk about that. And he said, God, if you're out there, help me. And I was on my way to go to my personal plane. He's got like a small plane. And I was going to commit suicide. And then Sister May called me and said, I need help. Oh, he said, what are you doing? Come here. We'll pray for your illness. We'll help you. He says, now I'm here where people are praying from God. If that's not a sign from God, nothing is. But what's sad about Vietnam is a lot of people did heroin. Because remember, we lost that war. Most wars America goes into, especially after World War II, we've lost. Because it's an offensive war, it's not defensive. A lot of people did heroin. What's interesting is most of the people who did heroin in Vietnam, when they came here, only about 2 to 3% were addicted to heroin. Heroin is a very addictive drug. In this country, when you do heroin and you go to a rehab center, and you come back, how many people relapse on average? Especially if it's not faith-based. Guess what the number is? Over 90. So why is it they went to Vietnam, did heroin, no rehab center, they came here, no drug use. Here, you do heroin, you go to a rehab center, you come back, you're going to relapse. What's the difference? What? The environment. So brothers and sisters, what's the rule? Success is not using willpower or self-control in bad environments. Because what's going to happen? That willpower is going to run out. Try to hang out with a bunch of guys who drink alcohol every day and resisting and say, I'm trying to become a good Muslim. You're eventually going to give in. Willpower is limited. Try to hang out with a bunch of guys who talk about women, who try to date and do things behind their parents' back. Trust me, you're going to do the same. So if you think you have the willpower to be around negative people, people who gossip, and you could withstand that, guess what? The data shows you can't. So yes, perseverance, grit, willpower are essential to success, but the way to improve these qualities not by wishing you were a more disciplined person, but by creating a more disciplined environment. And that's what we're going to try to end today. How do you create a more disciplined environment? Where? In here. Because ya Allah, if we were to look at some of your thoughts throughout the day, do you think they're more positive or negative? And what would happen if they are more positive? Would your life change? You know what's our problem? We play victim. We don't believe in that. So we want everything around us to change. Then what will happen? We'll change. So I have never seen someone consistently stick to positive habits in a negative environment, right? So what are the basics to do? This is the basic stuff. If you can't seem to get any work done, leave your phone. If you're continually feeling like you're not enough, stop following social media. If you're wasting too much time watching television, move the TV out of the bedroom. If you're spending too much money on electronics, quit reading reviews of the latest tech gear. If you're playing too many video games, unplug the console and put it in the closet after each use. What is your bed for? Sleep. Should you be on your phone on your bed? Should you be eating on your bed? Should you be doing anything on your bed other than sleeping? Yes or no? No. Your dinner table. Should you be doing homework on your dinner table? No. What's the only thing you should be doing on your dinner table? Eating. How many of you probably ate and were on your phone today while you're eating on a dinner table? Right? Your brain is really bad at multitasking and it gets very confused. Some of you have problems sleeping because you're on your phone in your bed, confusing your brain. One of the worst things that you could do. So, what I want you to do is just summarize what did I just tell you about how willpower works. It's not about how much you have, it's the environment that you're put in. And then tell the person about the whole heroin experiment between Vietnam and this world. Go, try your best, summarize. Oh, and while you're discussing, why don't you try picking one of these things to start doing? You got me. Tell me. All right. Okay. We have a lot to get through. I'm going to try my best. If I don't get through it, I'll be okay. I'm not going to feel bad. So this is what the ayahs that Brother Charara spoke about. He said, wherever you, O Prophet, turn your face towards the sacred mosque. Remember, Allah doesn't say pray towards the Kaaba. He said Masjid al-Haram, the mosque. Why? Because if I'm trying to pray towards the Kaaba, prayer direction is this way, right? And I'm praying this way. But even though it's this way, but I pray this way. So right now I'm not praying towards the Kaaba. Does my prayer count? Do I have to redo it? No, you don't have to redo it. As long as you're in a certain level of degree, your prayer, because you can never be exact. That's why Allah doesn't tell you the Kaaba, because that's too exact. So He creates the mosque around the Kaaba. It's more broad. Make sense? 45 degrees, as long as you're not past. So here is good, here is good, here is good. But then when I go here, you have to redo it, unless you didn't know, all right? So then, and whenever you believe is our face towards it, so people will have no argument against you. The Jews were arguing, oh, look, you're praying the same place that we're praying. And they literally were praying this way. Now they all turned. And now the women are up front. And the Prophet was in the back. And there's a whole narration of what happened while they were praying. So against you, accept the wrongdoers among them. Do not fear them. Meaning when somebody tells you not to do something or tells you to do something, you know the reason why we don't do it or do it? Because of fear. What if they don't like me anymore? How do you know you're in a toxic relationship? How many sisters in the community give up themselves to get close to a man because of fear that he may not like her anymore? Ya Allah. And then what eventually happens anyway? They get ghosted because they got used. And nobody's warning. That's one of the problems of public schools. These should be one of the classes speaking to the kids of Fort St. Crest or Dearborn High. Watch out. Again, environment. If you're hanging out with a bunch of friends that are talking to boys behind their parents' back, what are you going to eventually do? And if you don't, what are they going to do? They're going to guilt you. Oh, you think? Oh, this boy likes you. This guy likes you. And how many times? And then we ask ourselves, what happened now? I'm 15 years later and I'm married to this person. I'm about to get divorced with 3 kids. What happened? Nobody warned you? And usually it happens when there's something that you're lacking within your heart. And now you need a man to fill that void. And when he fills it temporarily, it's a drug. But what happens when you can't fill it anymore? What do you do then? All right. Do not fear them, fear me. Allah says, when you do wrong, that's when you should fear me. Only time you should fear Allah, only time, is when you do something wrong. Right? If you don't, other than that, love Allah. The only time you should fear Allah is when you do something wrong. You know what's our problem as Shias? We're like the Jews of the Ummah. We think we're exempt. Oh, I prayed for Imam Hussein. I'm good. I cried for Imam Hussein. I'm okay. I believe in the wilayat of Imam Ali. I'm good. I celebrated Ghadir. I'm good. Allah says, you're no different than the Jews of the Ummah. The Prophet said that. Be careful of that. You're no different. So that I may continue to perfect my favor upon you, so that you may be rightly guided. Next ayah. Since we have sent you a messenger from among yourselves, Prophet Ibrahim prayed. 2,500 years later, that prayer got answered. What was the prayer? A descendant to come, the Prophet. Don't underestimate your prayers. So he said, reciting to you a revelation, the Quran, purifying yourself. How do you purify yourself from evil? Because right now we're in a state of evil. What are the 2 types of evils? We're going to go over them. Something that you need to reflect on. There's the outer evil. What is an outer evil? Who can give me an example? Help. Well, what's an outer evil? Is stealing, right? Well, gossiping, right? Could be an outer evil. Cheating, drinking, right? And then there's inner evils. What are inner evils? Just give me one example. Envy. I hate her. Going to this wedding, she stole the guy I wanted. Hope they get divorced. Wallahi, that's happened in this community. There's one sister wanted to get married. Then her friend went and backbit her to this boy just so that she could marry him. And that worked. Now imagine that happening. That's happened in this community. I don't want to talk too much. Okay. So the messenger purifies believers from internal evils. Shirk, disbelief, jealousy, grudges. What's shirk? As Muslims, how do you become a mushrik? Allah talks about it. Muslims are mushrik, believers. How? When you have a problem and you start telling God, why'd you do this to me? Why would this happen to me? Right? That's what makes the Gaza movement so beautiful. All these women are getting destroyed. Generations being killed. And they're still practicing hijab. They haven't given up their faith. In this country, it makes you so comfortable. And what they do is that as soon as you become uncomfortable, you become nervous. And when you're nervous, it's very hard for you to practice. That's what makes that movement of Gaza so beautiful. The way they practice. Trust me, the Imam's return is imminent. The signs are happening. But we cannot be of the Jews of the Ummah, that when the Prophet went to the religious people, they rejected him. When the Imam returns, it's going to be the Muslims that are going to reject him. Why? Because of the things that we're attached to. We're more worried about what our friends and what society thinks about through social media than what Allah thinks about us. Would you guys agree in terms of Dearborn Heights with that assessment? Yes or no? Yes. Most people don't pray. Most people don't practice Islam. And yet, we're the biggest population per square mile outside of the Middle East. That's a problem. You send your kid to Fortson, and you're surrounded by a bunch of Muslims, and let's say you're a practicing Muslim from out of state, you're going to get very confused. Yes or no? Yes. All right. Then Allah says, remember me, and I will remember you. So for Allah to remember you, you first have to what? Remember Him. That's the whole point. Iman, whenever Allah talks about Iman and faith, Allah actually is talking about prayer, because that's when this happened. Thus the importance of praying 5 times a day. It's very hard. You're in an environment of prayer. You just prayed. Now you got to go back to those friends who are talking behind their parents' back with boys. You just finished prayer. Would it become easier or harder to go back to that thing? Harder. You just gossiped. You prayed. You came back. Would it be easier or harder to gossip? Thus the importance, no matter what type of person you are, no matter if you're doing indecency, you're doing things behind your parents' back, whatever it is, the first thing that you need to start is prayer. You cannot get to the level of where you want with Allah, because I promise you, the only thing you're going to care about when you die is your relationship with Allah. You're not going to care about that boy, your husband, your kids, none of it. Wallahi, you're not. And I'm with 100% conviction, because that's what Allah tells us. Even if your child is next to you, you won't even care. You'll be saying, nafsi, what's going to happen to me? Yet we fear all these people. That's why the angels look at us so strange. Wow, when your friend tells you to come on time, when your friend calls you, when this boy tells you to do this, you're there like that. But when Allah tells you to stop and pray at 1 o'clock, what Allah? So Allah says, forget you. And then there's hadith that says, go find a different Lord to worship. Good luck. So then Allah says, remember me and I will remember you. That's what this conversation is about today. How do we start remembering Allah? And thank me, never be ungrateful. The worst type of individual is who? An ungrateful person. How many marriages, women are in marriages in this community with an ungrateful husband? And now they got to stick with it with their kids. That's their living hell. That's also their jihad. It's very difficult. One of the root causes of evil is ungratefulness. So, there's 3 types of remembering. First, by the tongue, by action, praying, fasting, contemplation, reflecting Allah's blessing. That's it. Those are the 3 types. You're either going to do it by your tongue, by your action, and by contemplation, right? This is one of the most important ones. How did I behave today? What kind of actions did I have today? What kind of better person should I be tomorrow? How did you contemplate? You know, most people over the age of 35 stop doing that. And then from the age of 35 until they die, they're the same person. When's the last time you've gone to your wife or your husband or your kids and say, how could I be a better mother? How could I be a better father? How could I be a better wife? You know, that's something that you constantly need to do. Don't most people stop doing it when they get older? Yes or no? Yeah. And then that's why most people over the age of 40 don't smile. Do you know why? Start observing. A lot of people don't smile over the age of 40. What's the main reason? You can't say it's the way of Ahl Bayt. Imam Hussein smiled at Karbala. How? The Prophet smiled on the battlefield. Why don't most people smile? Simple. What's a movie? Somebody give me a movie they watched recently. Huh? You watched Titanic recently? Okay. Way back, right? Did you like it? is all right. How about if you watched it twice in a row? Would you like it? How about 5 times? How about 100 times in a row? You notice that thing that you liked initially that was all right. What would happen after 100 times in a row? You'd be miserable. That's most people's lives. They wake up, check their phone, yell at their kids, do the same thing, go to sleep the same way. Everything's the same. And then they complain to everybody why they have so many problems because they're watching the same movie. Yes or no? So why not change that movie? Well, what's the only way to change that movie of your life? Change yourself. By what? By remembering Allah. And you cannot remember your Allah in that toxic environment. Shaitan is going to win. It's going to be very hard to remember Allah if you're smoking weed, drinking alcohol, cheating on your wife, yelling at your kids, stealing from people. You're not. You cannot be in that negative environment. So stop playing victim and change. So now, couple hadith. Whoever draws near to me by a length of a cubit, this is a hadith of the Rasulullah. Sunnis, Shias both agree in these hadiths. Cubit is, let's say, 12 inches. Allah will draw to him by a length of a fathom, meaning arm's length, right? And then whoever draws near to me by the length of a fathom, I will draw to him many lengths. And then Allah says, outstretched, and whoever comes to me walking, I will go to him running. Look at these metaphors that the Prophet is telling, that you don't need anybody else to help you except the creator of the universe. Right? Guys, the universe is so huge that if you were to travel at the speed of light, I think from here to the moon would take, I think it's 8 seconds. Somebody could correct me. In the speed of light. And if you go from here to the sun, I think it's 8 minutes or something like that. Right? Do you know if you try to go here to another part of the universe, just another part of many parts, it'll take you 240,000 years? Your mind can't handle that size. It doesn't even know how to comprehend that. So the creator of all this and the same components of the universe, the hydrogen, the carbon, of those fallen dusts from the stars are the same components that make up you. You have the components of the universe in you. That's why Imam Ali says the universe is within you. Yet you think you're so insignificant. So what you have to do is you have to start saying, okay, Allah, I'm going to come to you. How do you come to Allah? First thing is you pick one small thing that you're going to start changing about yourself. The religious people will think they're good enough. I pray 5 times a day, Shaitan has got them. The bad people are going to think, I'm never going to be good, so forget it all. Shaitan has got them too. You notice? That's why your role model has to be the Prophet, because he will guide you. All right. Next hadith. The example of the one who remembers Allah and the one who does not is like that of the living and the who? So if you don't remember, it's the one ayah of the Holy Quran where it says, remember Allah abundantly. It's the only ayah where it's unlimited. Praying, limited. You cannot pray too much. I mean, you can pray too much. Reading Quran, you could read it too much. Everything else has its limit. What's the only thing that doesn't? Dhikr. What's dhikr? You just sat down. Did you remember Allah? You're about to get up. Are you going to remember Allah? Before you go to sleep, when you wake up, before you eat, before you talk to somebody. Moment to moment, and the more you remember Allah from moment to moment, what is Allah going to do back? He's going to remember you. How? He's going to give you opportunities. I always share this story. I guess I'll share it again. There's a guy who wanted to commit suicide. I asked him, did you remember Allah? He says, well, how? He says, well, ask Allah. Well, how? He says, well, I want to work for the state. He says, but I worked in California. My friends worked in California in the state. Now I want to work here. COVID hit. I moved here working in AAA. Victim mode. The girl that I wanted to marry left me. My job fired me. Nobody wants to be my friend. Even the mosque kicked me out. Victim, victim, victim. I said, okay, stop becoming a victim. Let's ask Allah. Well, how do you do that? Dhikr. Gave him a small dua to do. And I said, okay, now meditate. What do you want to do? Ask Allah. Envision it there. Calls me 2 days later. He says, Brother Hussein, it's weird. All I see is Cadillacs. Every time I'm dreaming, I see Cadillacs. COVID, no cars. All he sees is Cadillacs, right? He says, I don't want a Cadillac. I want a job. I said, Allah is trying to speak to you. By the way, this is all you need is one event to happen to you. You'll never go back to the old person. But none of us start because you have to call on Allah for him to come to you. None of us start. So he says, I don't want a Cadillac. I want a job. I said, hey, then he calls me 2 days. My unemployment didn't go through. Remember, everybody was collecting unemployment at that time. He calls them, waits on the phone for 4 hours. He gets directed to a supervisor. She says, you know what? I'm going to fix your issues. So she fixed them. And it was like $4,000 that she gave him. And then she asked him, hey, do you speak Arabic? I said, yeah, I'm fluent. Said, well, I'm getting all these calls from Arabic people. I don't know what they're saying. Come work for me. Do you have a degree? Yeah. Well, come work for me. I'm hiring you. She hired him. He called me and said, Brother Hussein, this worked. I'm working for the state. He's working for the state of Michigan. Right? And he worked there for about 4 years. Now he's working for the state of California. He's making now more than 6 figures. But he went to go pick up his laptop. Now here's a person that was broke, couldn't afford rent, wanted to commit suicide. He prayed to Allah. Allah does the rest. He went to go pick up his laptop from downtown Detroit. He sends me a picture. Says, Brother Hussein, you won't believe what happened. I always get a text like this once a week. I went to pick up my laptop, and I picked it up from the Cadillac building. Can he ever go back to the person he was? No. That's for him. Why don't you try that relationship with Allah for 40 days? I'm going to show you how. All right. I am my servant, thinks of me. This is big. So if you think Allah is limited, then you're going to get limited things. If you talk to yourself, I'm never going to get married, then you'll never get married. I'm always broke, you're always going to be broke. Whatever you say, I am after, that's your relationship with Allah. I'm going to fail. I'm going to do it. They've done it. They've had people who take math tests. They said, did you know typically Chinese people do better than American people in math tests? The people who read that study compared to the neutral, those people did far less. Did you know when you take this study, women do far less than men? The woman who read it did way worse because that was their I am after. The whole part of dhikr is to teach you your I am. I am worthy. I am abundant. Allah has created you enough. You don't need a relationship to feel love. You don't need money to feel abundant. You don't need success to feel worthy. You are already it. And as soon as you don't think like that, you're going to be negative and you're going to attract negative things. Make sense? So Allah says, I am my servant who thinks of me. I am with me when he remembers me. If he remembers me in himself, I remember him in myself. If he mentions me in assembly, I mention him in assembly better than theirs. All I want you to do is talk to the person next to you and say, I am as my servant thinks of me. What do you think of Allah when it comes to your own life and your problems? Have that conversation. Go ahead. How much do you actually trust and believe Allah is going to solve all your problems? Okay. Hopefully we'll get to the short meditation. If not, then we'll start it off next week. All right. So now, your personality determines your personal reality. True or false? True. Your personality, the way you think, act, and feel, determines your reality. If you don't like your reality, change your... We're just waiting for our reality to change for us to change. When I make $1 million, I feel abundant. When I get a relationship, I'll feel love. When I get a mystical moment, then I'll feel awe. You will always be a slave to this world. We call them salary slaves. especially if you work for those things. If every day you're doing that same job to achieve things, you're called a salary slave. So, your personality, but are you your personality? Because think about the word I'm saying, your personality. Are you your personality? Or are they separate? Think about it. When somebody says, I want to kill myself, who is the I and who is the myself? Are they two different things? Yes, it's that personality that they want to kill and don't want to live with that anymore. So you are not your personality. Shaitan makes you think you are. You're stupid. You're no good. That's who you are. It's a lie. So you are not born this way. Major calamities of the body and mind act as urgent signals from parts of ourselves that we have neglected or lost connection with. This is chapter 8 of Myth of Normal. Major calamities of the body and mind act as urgent signals from parts of ourselves that we have neglected or lost connection with. What does that mean? You go to the doctor, he tells you have an illness. Right? That's a wake-up call that there could be something with what? Your personality. The way you think, the way you act, and the way you feel. And as soon as you change your personality, can that cancer go away? Yes or no? Yes. Doctors call it spontaneous remission. Islam says there's nothing spontaneous about it. So, the practice of tuning into these subtle warnings foster deep connection with ourselves and promote an overall well-being. You have to start paying attention to the body. Right? There's that book, The Body Always Keeps Score. So, what if your personality doesn't reflect who you truly are, but rather the loss of it? What if you have a personality that you don't even know who you are, that you've lost yourself? And that could be because you've been abused, you've been neglected, you've never been heard. Right? So today we're going to ask 6 questions. At the end, you don't have to take pictures of them now, but at the end you can take a picture of the 6, and then every once in a while, at least once a week, once a month, at least, where you reflect on these 6 questions and say, I want to make sure I'm not a victim by doing this. All right. So our bodies keep the score, revealing the authentic self beneath layers of limiting beliefs. The true you, most people don't know. There's the egoic you, and then there's the true you. When you saw the prophets and the imams, you saw them. When people see you, what do they see? Do they see that scared person that's internal, that's protecting themselves because now everybody's been a threat because my husband cheated on me 5 years ago, now every man is a potential threat. Or my parents abused me, so now everybody is a potential abuser, so nobody's going to really know the true me. And now we're watching that same movie every day, and then we have sad faces. So then, compassionate inquiry. Suspend some of your beliefs. That's the first thing you're going to have to do. Compassion is not a fleeting feeling, but an intentional attitude of non-judgment. It invites curiosity about self-judgment without accepting them as truth. Start becoming compassionate to yourself. What's compassion? It's not a feeling. It's saying, oh, I feel this way. Can you be compassionate to that feeling and say, wait, why am I getting jealous here? Why am I getting envy here? Why am I behaving this way? That's how you know you start becoming compassionate to yourself. Why am I not praying? Why am I not dressing more modestly? See, instead of it coming down as judgment, oh, I'm going to hell, now you're showing compassion and you're asking a question, why am I like this way? Why am I my personality that way? Shaitan is going to tell you that's who you are. Don't let people judge you. Oh, you're so judgy. Right? And then that's why, especially women, when they ask them, would you rather be electrocuted or be alone with your thoughts for a half hour? A lot of women would rather be electrocuted than be alone with their own thoughts. Because now there's nobody to judge them. Now they start judging themselves because they're just replacing maybe what their mom did to them with their own thoughts. So how do we overcome that? All right. So do you have time? This takes 5 minutes a day. One of the ways Shaitan gets you is you don't have time. Prayer, I don't have time. I'm working. Right? If I showed you 24 hours a day, what's the most thing that we waste the most? Is our what? Time. When you ask people right before they die, what's one of their number one wishes? that they regret and they know they could have. That they could have given more time to who? Their families and themselves. I didn't always have to come. I didn't know how to say no. All right. With whom and what situation do I find? So first question. I'm going to quickly go over. I'm going to give you about 20 seconds for each question. First one. In my life's important areas, what am I not saying no to? One of the ways to show compassion to is saying no. How many teenagers in the community, especially girls, are not telling that boy no? Are not telling their friends no because of fear? Right? So, with whom and what situation do I find it most difficult to say no? How do you know you're in a bad situation? Is when you can't say no out of fear. That's a huge red flag. Even if I say no, do I reluctantly and apologetically do with guilt? And do I beat myself up about it afterwards? Go ahead. In my life's important areas, what am I not saying no to? Go ahead. We got 6 of these, so go ahead. Just one person share with the other, then you switch after. You're having a hard time. How about just saying no to your low desire? You know, if you're overweight, saying no to that cupcake, right? Saying no to your egoic self, because the egoic self says, eat that cupcake. But the fitra says, you just ate 14 cupcakes 3 hours ago. You're 400 pounds. As soon as you say no, right, now you're calling on Allah. And what happens from there, you put the cupcake back, do you lose weight? Do you get a job? Do you get married? All your decisions, all because you took that step and you said no to that low desire. If you're having a hard time externally, just internalize that and say no. Right? So what's one low desire you want to start saying no to? Share. Go ahead. If you can't think of one, then Shaitan has really got you. Because living in the West, we all have them. Okay. Next one. How does my inability to say no impact your life? When you don't say no, how does that impact you? Right? Bodily warning signs may include insomnia, back pain, muscle spasms, dry mouth, frequent colds, abdominal pains, digestive problems, fatigue. That could be your physical symptoms from just not saying what? No. Right? That's one. The other, emotional impact. Feelings such as sadness, alienation, anxiety, boredom may arise. Next one, interpersonal struggles. The most common outcome is resentment directed towards people or situations where an authentic no was suppressed. Ironically, this resentment often distances yourself from the people you tried to stay close, by avoiding no. Oh, I'm telling my mom yes, or I keep telling this boy yes, or this girl yes, or this job yes, and I'm resenting the yes. That's how you cause a toxic environment in your soul, right? So the question is, what do I miss out in life due to my inability to assert myself? Possibly answers might include fun, joy, spontaneous self-respect, opportunities for growth and adventure, and more. So how does your inability to say no impact your life in one of these ways? Go ahead. Go. Let me share a story. There's a brother in the community. Let me explain how it works from that ayah of the Quran when you call on Allah. There's a brother named Catfish, Muhammad Baidoun. Okay, ever buy a Ford car? Probably bought it from him or his partner Serini, right? So one of the things I asked him, how'd you become successful? He says, you know what he told me? He says, I learned to say no. He says, I was working at my brother's gas station. He told me to steal my friend's customers' credit cards at 18. And we'll take it to a smoke shop and we'll split it in half. Because back then, credit card fraud was rampant. It was really bad. He said, let me think about it. The next day, he tells his friend, no. His friend looks at him and says, you're going to be a loser your whole life. What did Allah say? Don't what? Don't fear your friends. Fear me. So he says, you're going to be a loser your whole life. He didn't do it. Now, alhamdulillah, Catfish is one of the best salesmen in the state. He does very well for himself. And when you meet him, whatever you see, you get. There is no, if you ever meet Catfish, there is no lying in him. He's one of the most genuine people that you can meet. That's why everybody goes to him. Okay? He's now successful, doing well. Who does he see about 20 years later? That friend. Friend tells him, he tells his friend, wow, I haven't seen you in so long. You want to buy a car? He says, I really can't afford a car. What are you here for? Can I have some money? So whatever he had in his pocket, a few $100, he said, here you go. Keep it. Gave him some sob story. He says, it's not a loan, just keep it. Catfish told me when he left, he cried. He says, because if at 18 he would have listened to him, that would have been him. And he wouldn't have been able to take care of his family. Brothers and sisters, I'm not trying to preach to you. All I'm trying to do is give you a tool that I promise you, and it's not my promise, it's God's. Soon as you take that step and you decide to change, if you don't know what to change, ask somebody. Some of us are in so much debt and so many problems because we play this victim mode. We got to get out of it. All right, next question. What bodily signals have I been overlooking? Sometimes you have symptoms like back pain and so on, and you just overlook it thinking that's who you are, right? What have I ignored that might be warning signs if I paid attention? Take a regular survey of ongoing symptoms such as fatigue, persistent headaches, upset stomachs, lower back pain. Reflect on unsaid no that these might be signaling. We're going to skip this one. You're going to have you take you can take a picture of these at the end. Next one, what is the hidden story behind my inability to say no? Why can't you say no? What's the reason? Is it common underlying beliefs include saying no means I can't handle something, it's a sign of weakness? I must be good to deserve being loved. If I say no, I'm not lovable. Teenage girls fall victim to that. How many boys use them by saying, oh, I'm just going to ghost you, I won't call you or give you attention, I'll just give other people attention, right? That's why this whole weakness of saying no, the hijab, the sister's hijab, obviously, if teenagers have to improve. You know why I believe hijab is even worse? It's the boys. Not even close. Women have hayat. They don't like to, they don't, as much as men, they don't like to look as indecent things like men do. Men love it, right? Look at the whole haram industry of what's the most used thing on the internet. Because there's kids here, I don't want to say the word. Who is it dominated by, men or women? Men, right? So tell me, whose hijab needs more improving? Because the hijab of the eye, it's so bad. I'm not worthy unless I'm doing something useful. People know how I really felt. They would not like me. If I turned someone down, I would feel deservedly guilty. It's selfish to say no. It's not loving to have anger. Reflect. Question. If your friend said no to a request because it felt true to them, they told you, no, I can't help you with cleaning out your garage. I can't pick you up because I have to take care of something. What would you feel about them if they're a good friend? Would you resent them or would you say, no problem? It's okay. So then why is it not okay for you to tell your friends no, to tell those people no? Would you condemn them as weak? No. So when you say no, you're not weak. Brothers and sisters, the reason why I'm bringing this up, so many people in the community, especially the teenage sisters in the community, don't know how to say no because of fear. And you know what's destroying them is the gratification through social media. That's their level. Their number one thing is feeling that gratification. And that gratification means I have to get those likes no matter what. Otherwise, because that's my source of happiness, which was outside of me. That's why if you have a daughter, even a son, and they have social media, be careful. If they're very insecure and they have low self-esteem, get them out of social media. Take it away. They can't. It will be the most destructive thing. If you don't believe me, go online, look up ChatGPT, give me a mood test for my 14-year-old daughter, take it. Get off social media for 2 weeks, take the same mood test, watch what happens to you. If you stay the same, go back to social media. But wallahi, you won't, because they've done the data. Where did I learn these stories? Okay, for this, what is the hidden story behind the ability? Why is it you have a hard time sometimes saying no? Take 30 seconds and share with the person next to you. Why do you think you have a hard time saying no to people? Go. And remember, some of our not being able to say no may not be to a human being, it could be to ourselves. And why is it that I have to overindulge either in smoking or in food, online? You know, majority of teenagers are watching haram. Majority. Why is it? Some of them are doing it and they can't say no. Some of the reasons why is they're addicted to the feeling of guilt. So when you're addicted to guilt because your parents made you feel guilty, you're no good, you're stupid, what's wrong with you? And you felt guilt. Now your parents are not around. Sometimes we watch haram, and after we're done watching haram, what is the feeling that we have? Guilt. So unless you have a good counselor to help you with that, you won't even realize who you are. Thus the importance of anybody who has any type of addiction to get some form of counseling. Now, fifth question, where did I learn these stories? Where did you learn not to say no? And most of us, it's from where? Our parents, right? We never learned how to express healthy anger to our parents when they asked us for things, right? How many first-generation parents are comfortable with their kids coming to them and say, Dad, I like this person. Mom, I like this boy. What do I do? Mom, having doubts about hijab. What do I do? Tell me, how many first-generation parents that live here are comfortable with those types of questions? Are they? No. Should you be? You got to kill that generational curse. Otherwise, what happens is we go to the parents say, make them feel worse because they already feel guilty. Now they hide it. And now who are they closer to? Their parents or their friends? Friends. It's not normal, brothers and sisters, if you have kids and your kids are closer to their friends than they are to you, fix that. That's a you problem. That's not your kid's problem. You are not attractive enough to your kids. And that's a huge red flag. What are we going to do? We're going to blame. Oh, it's society. It's school. It's this. Look, I run a school. Wallahi, it's not. When I run this school, our students start college at 9th grade. Majority graduate in 11th grade, and a lot of them go to Ann Arbor, full ride scholarships to other schools as well. Do you know what I do when I interview? I'm not interviewing the kid. Who am I interviewing? Parents. Completely changed their style at Wise. Last couple of years. This is now our best year. It's the parents. So all you parents that you think if your kid is astray, now I'm talking about 21 and under, even 15 and under. Because after 16, and especially after 21, it's between them and Allah. Because after 15, you can't discipline anymore. But how is your relationship with your Allah, with your kids? Do they look forward to seeing you? And if your relationship wasn't like that with your parents, then maybe that could be an issue of why you can't say no. Because some of us are scared to even tell our kids no because maybe our kids will stop talking to us. That's not a love relationship. That's a business relationship. Imagine your husband says, you know, honey, the only reason why I tell you yes, I really didn't want to hear your annoying voice. How would that make her feel? Tell me how many times some of us have that relationship with our kids. So, where have I ignored or denied the yes that wanted to be said? What does that mean? And suppressing a no can harm us. Can holding back an authentic yes harm you? Yes. How many of you wanted to start an orphanage? How many of you wanted to go maybe to a third world country and help people? How many of you wanted to spend less time working and more time with your kids? Or learning more Quran? Why haven't you given that authentic yes to yourself? What have you longed to do, created, expressed, but abandoned due to fear of sense of obligation? What opportunities for joy, play, or exploration have you overlooked? What pleasures have you denied yourself, believing you don't deserve them or fearing that you'll be taken away? Reflection. What belief is stopping me from embracing my creative desires? So now talk to the person next to you. Where should you start saying yes in your life? What part? Because the body tells you, you got to take care of your family. Oh, I don't have time. Or tomorrow, right? Tomorrow I'm going to work out. Tomorrow I'm going to put down the donut. Tomorrow I'll be nicer to my kids. Tomorrow. I don't have time today. I'm annoyed. Right? Now you're not taking that step towards Allah. Where should you start saying yes? And how do you evaluate it? What will you regret right before you die, if you were to die today, that you didn't say yes to? What would you be like, I had that dream as a child. Why didn't I go after it? Because Allah says, you come to me, I will make all your dreams. You know what's cool about me? You know what's cool? Is I'm not just telling you from a book that I read. I practiced it. I've lived a life. I was going to do a certain thing in my life. I was a natural entrepreneur. I was going after wealth. I lost my desire for it through one lecture from Hajj Hassanin. So I said, oh Allah, I'm going to be an entrepreneur for you. And now to date, we have over $50 million in projects. We have the school. We have another one in Orlando. We have the only Muslim-owned camp in the country, 105 acres. It's this school spread out, 105 acres. Some of you have been there. We've never done a fundraiser. We've only taken silent donations. Shaitan attacks, but it's not our project. Why would I worry? So I'm not telling you because I've read it in a book, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you because of experience. Taking that step. If you would have told my teacher across the street, my math teacher, Miss Sullen, back in the day in the 90s, that you're going to start a school across the street, you know what she said? No, he's too much into money. She used to call my mom every day to wake me up so I could go on school on time in trigonometry. And my mom would make her ba'a, right? And she had such a huge impact on me. But even then, I was an entrepreneur. And if somebody would have told her that I would have started a school across the street, they should have said, really? No way. So I'm living proof that when you take that step towards Allah, Allah does the rest. And all you got to do is take a small step. It's so simple. Well, who did I have to say no to initially? Where did my first big no that caused me a huge depression? My friends. And my life was my friends. When I went to the lecture, I looked at the phone, I had 20 missed calls. Like, where were you? You don't know what you missed. I was like, man, you don't know what you missed. You got to come listen to this guy speak. And from that day, my whole life changed. And a lot of my friends actually came to that lecture. And then there was a girl that called me. Said, what are you doing? I'm going to listen to this guy speak. I listened to him yesterday. He's amazing. She goes, I want to go. I said, well, it's a mosque. You'll have to wear hijab. She goes, I don't know. Something is pulling me to go. What he talked about the first day is how you cannot find, you're too stupid to have morals to yourself. Get rid of your ego, because that was me. I thought I had life figured out. The second day, what did he speak about? Christianity. Who did I bring? A Christian. Same thing that happened to me the first day, guess what happened to her the second day? Same exact thing. She became Muslim. She became my wife. And I believe if I would have married anybody else, it would have been very hard for these projects to exist. Because if somebody would have told me either family or do this, and both are like breathing to me, she made a lot of sacrifices. I married the exact person. Could not have found that. It's impossible. Think about it. A random phone call. The girl calls me, what are you doing? She's at the mosque. At the time, she didn't like hijab. She's having hijab on, listening to a Muslim talk about Christianity. And all the questions that she had in Divine Child were answered in 20 minutes. Tell me, is that not God? The Cadillac story, is that not God? Catfish's stories. So you notice, all I'm trying to do is to get people is to take that step. What happens is society in the West especially don't want to take you, they don't want you to take that step. One of the ways to take that step is through meditation. We're out of time, but next week I want to do a short meditation on the dhikr, but we're going to pick one. So if you'd like to take a picture of the 6 questions, this is something that you want to just reflect on probably once a week. Just a self-check. These are the 6 questions. Unlocking your authentic yes. Unlocking your authentic person that you are. You have to know to say no. You have to learn to say no. You know what my biggest challenge was? Saying no to my friends. Man, for 3 weeks, I was so depressed. Because I did a prayer from a hadith. Because since 2007, there's never been a day, because I made a promise to Allah, where I haven't taken either a Hausa course, a tafsir course, or some type of Islamic knowledge for a minimum of 1 hour a day since 2007. Think about how many hours that is. There's probably a lecture from the main speakers that I have not heard, from Sheikh Shomali, Sheikh Bahmanpour, and so on. And I love it, and I still do it today, and I'm going to do it tonight. I've never, ever stopped, ever. But my hardest struggle was when I did the prayer, oh Allah, take away all my friends that take me away from you. Guess what happened? All gone in 2 weeks. Oh Allah, bring me new friends that bring me closer to you. Guess which friend he brought me? Hajj Hassanin. Right when we met, you know when you meet somebody for the first time, you just click? You know one of the problems in our community for 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds? When's the last time you made a new friend? You notice we keep our same friends? That's not the Islamic way. But to meet new friends, that means you have to do new things. If you've recently don't have new friends, that means you're not trying new things. The simple question you want to ask yourself, when is the last time you've done something for the first time? When is the last time you've done something for the first time? And if you can't remember, Shaitan has got you. Don't hide under the religious garb. So I prayed to Allah, remove my friends, He removed them. 3 weeks later, Allah bring me new friends. He brought me Hajj Hussein. Right when we met and we shook hands, we had a connection. It was like a brother that I never had. In terms of when you meet him, just like a family member that you feel like it's your brother. And it was this place called Station Cafe, Greenfield Cafe or something. And we met and the place was packed. And that's when I got really into the Bible. I used to go to Bible study because my wife was a revert. So I wanted to learn all about the Bible. So for about 1.5 years, I did Bible study. And I would tell him everything. And what drew me to him is everything I would ask him, he knew the answer. Like he did the same thing. And then he told me how he did Bible study. Then we just clicked. Became close. I said, Hajj, I want to start a youth group, 2007. So let's do it. And he helped me. Hajj, a parent said, I want to start an after-school program. Let's do it. Another parent comes in, our after-school program started, because we went around, we found the facility, started a school. Hajj, we want to start a school. Parents said, let's do it. Hajj Hassanin has never told me no, ever. What a friend. Can you find such a friend? Right? You know how many times Shaitan has tried to make us divide? People would come in here and so on. And me and him would just look at each other and laugh. The reason why I'm sharing these stories is, brothers and sisters, if it was possible for me, could it be possible for you? So this is step one. This is what I did. What I want you to do, and this is the meditation we're going to do, we'll do next week. It's very short. Unless you're going to stay, I'm going to make it part of the meditation. Just pick one of these names, right? One of the names of Allah, because whatever you're lacking in life, it's God's name. That means you're lacking in it because you haven't gone to God. That means it's in God's name. So what do our scholars say? Pick one name for you to meditate over. You know how long you got to meditate over? 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. And I was going to actually do the guided meditation for you. So what you do is whatever you're lacking, you find the 99 names. These are the 10 from what we went over. And you pick one. You keep it in your phone. And that is when you're doing dhikr. That's the dhikr you could do all the time. There's no limit to it. And you're constantly doing it until that thing that you want comes to you. Pick a name of Allah from Al-Wadud. If you're lacking love, you keep reciting until the love comes to you. It's a promise of God that it's going to come to you. My advice to you is just try. You know the advice I give people? Try for 40 days. If it doesn't work, go back to your old way. That's why I always get texts. Brother Hussein, you won't believe what happened. My frustration that I got to worry about is you're giving people the solution to life for this world and the next. And they will fight you with their limiting beliefs. But, you don't know what happened to me. You're like, okay, let's throw all your problems on the moon. What are we left with? You're left with you. How's your relationship? It's just you and Allah. In your dream, you could see people in your dreams. You could see your mom, your dad. You could travel in your dream. But who's your dream all about? Who's the main figure in your dream when you're dreaming? You. You get it? It's all about you. That's why you have the universe within you. Start acting like it. We worship Allah like He doesn't have time. And Allah looks at us like He's the only thing He's created is you. We don't believe in that. How do you gain that? Pick a name. If it's Al-Haq, reflect on aligning your actions and words with truth, both inwardly and outwardly. Al-Haq, Al-Haq, Al-Haq. Before you speak to somebody, you're saying it inside of yourself. Al-Haq. Okay, truth. Can I go? No. Can you do? Yes. Al-Haq. Do that. Just pick one name and actualize it, be it. That's the secret of the Quran. You find the names of Allah, you see it, oh, there it is. Just apply that verse to you, you become it. Brothers and sisters, how do you think we did it? Look, my sister is here. She's right here. She'll tell you, this is who my brother was in 2007. He was more into worldly things than to Islam in 2006. But it was my mom's prayer that changed me. Now, it wasn't bad per se in terms of like drugs and alcohol, but I was so arrogant. Like, why would you go to school and make $80,000 a year? Stupid is that, right? I looked at people in a certain way. I was very arrogant because I had a few bucks in my pocket. One person changed my heart. So I told Allah, for the rest of my life, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to try to get close to you and kill this ego, inshallah die a Muslim, but I'm going to bring as many people with me as possible. And if you start doing it, imagine the change that we could have in the community. And that's what we're going to do. Next week, inshallah, a sister decided to put on hijab within the program. She'll share her story next week. Just pick a name. Everybody talk to the person next to you. What's one name you can at least focus on at least a week for at least 5 minutes a day? Pick a name. It'll manifest in your life, I promise you. Yikes. Oh my God, it's late. Okay. I really like the way this discussion went today. My last piece, what happened in Syria, it's now a Zionist country. Okay? The good news about that, it's a sign of the Imam's return. It's within our hadith. When Sham and all this region is taken over, that's a sign of the Imam's return. Sayyid's passing was a sign of the Imam's return, because he would share dreams that he would have of certain things that would happen to him. Those things have happened. We don't know. It could be 100 years from now, it could be tomorrow. But if your egoic self and you can't overcome your low desires, I promise you, you're going to reject the Imam, just like the Jews rejected the Prophet. Be careful. But at least Allah set you here. Somebody warned you. Now you have no excuses. Just continue to strengthen your relationship with your 12th Imam, because that's how you strengthen your relationship with Allah. He's waiting on us. I will share this. This will be the meditation next week. We're going to talk about hypocrisy next week. This is if you're not in the WhatsApp group. Our sessions cost about $200. If one person would like to donate, or a couple, because there's pizza and food downstairs and so on. Then we have a retreat. I think it's February 21st. We just opened up registration. It's 3 days of this, but mixed with about 9 meditations. And we've gotten tremendous feedback. It's really cool. I'll show some videos next week. The only problem with that is I need people to register, because the hotel needs me to confirm how many rooms. They're kind of being kind of strict with me. So for us to have this retreat, I need everybody to sign up within the next, I think it's like 8 or 9 days. So I'm going to send out another message. It's a really cool event. We have a lot of testimonials of the things that happen there as well. Any questions? Yes. February 21st. It's the weekend before Ramadan. So it's going to prepare us for Ramadan. All right? Yes. 16 and up. But you can bring kids. We have babysitting. Okay? And if you do bring like a 13, 14, as long as they're behaving it, they'll be fine. They could join. Thank you, guys. Inshallah, we'll see you next week. Next week, we're going to start with the